we are recording the session, okay?
Thank you. I do have to go though, but it was nice meeting you.
No problem. Okay, see you, Gina. Okay, so the rest of you guys, do you want to send me an email with your 3 people, or you want? Let me go ahead and do that. Who is interested on the major industries? 1. Who's your team, sir? Who wants to go with Zach?
I'm with Cliff and Ashley.
And Ashley. Okay, so that would be major industries. Okay, so Zach, you are in charge of sending me an email and say, Hasso, I am in your 311 class, and these are my 3 members. Okay. How about the issue of unemployment?
We'll do that one if that's cool with Laura and Cassie.
Okay, Melody, who else?
Sounds great.
Cassie and Laura.
Cassie and Laura, okay. Melody, you are in charge of sending me an email and say, Hasso, I'm in 311, this is my team. And then the last topic was the issue of economic growth. How the economy has been impacted by this. And you can talk about inflation and recession and how the government or governments are doing to try to deal with this issue. Okay, got it? Okay, so okay, hold on for a second. Let me. Okay, so now we're going to begin the class. Okay, it is recording now, so we are in the right track. I was telling you that economics is a social science that tries to explain why individuals make the choices that they make. So economics is a study of the choices and the action that people take to make the best use of scarce resources, right? That's what economics is. For example, think about you getting up this morning, and trying to take a class online. Now, why do you decide to take a class online during the summer instead of just being in the house watching Netflix all day long? Well, it's because you have decided that to you it's better to make this choice today. Now, what is the cost of you taking this class? Well, the cost of you taking this class is that you only have to pay tuition. Not only do you have to pay tuition, you also have to buy a book, right? That's the cost of being in this class, right? But in addition to that, we have other costs. Right? And what is the other cost involved in you taking this class? Well, the opportunity of you doing something that you will enjoy better than being in class, listening to a Mexican trying to teach you something. Okay? That's the cost, right? On beautiful days during the summer, I don't like to teach. Now, why I don't like to teach on beautiful days? Well, because on beautiful days, I wish I was outside enjoying my day instead of being in the classroom teaching a class. But if the day is rainy and cloudy, I don't care. Right? Because there's not a lot of cost for me being in here versus outside. So then economics is a study of the choices that we make to make the best use of scarce resources. So on this class, we're going to try to understand how individuals like you and me make decisions. Think about this. Everything that we make in life is an economic decision. Everything that we make in life is an economic decision. Or better, I can say that we can use economics to explain why do you make those decisions. Think about, for example, some of you in the near future probably are going to find the right person and you're going to decide to marry that person. So selecting someone to marry, is that an economic choice? Or do you do it just because of the feeling of, I am in love with it? What do you think? Can we use economics to explain the issue of marriage? And the answer is yes. Because think about this, on economics, we make an assumption, and the assumption is that we're dealing with rational people. We're dealing with rational people. So now, who are the rational people? Well, the rational people is the people that always want to maximize what is good for them. In other words, they want to maximize their utility. They want to maximize their pleasure. They want to maximize their happiness, their satisfaction. So then when you choose a person to marry, in reality, that's an economic choice because you want to increase your happiness. You believe that that person is going to make you happier. So by choosing that, that's an economic decision. Now, going to church. Why do we serve God? Think about this. Why do we serve God? Some of us serve God because our parents told you that that's what we believe. And some of you serve God because you have established a relationship with God. But think about this. Before the establishment of the relationship with God, you ask for forgiveness. Why do you ask for forgiveness? I'm asking a question. Have any of you repented already and asked God for forgiveness? And you have a relationship with God?
Yeah.
None? Okay, none of you have repented, okay? Well, one of these days, you're gonna have to do it. Now, once you ask God for forgiveness, why do you ask God for forgiveness?
Because you're in trouble, sort of.
Okay, you're in trouble? What is your fear?
Yeah.
What is your fear if you don't repent?
Oh,
Going to
you'll.
hell.
Yeah, our fear is that we're going to go to hell, right? That's what we believe, that we're going to be suffering for eternity. So then you make a choice. And if I repent of my sins, and if I ask God for forgiveness, then I'm going to probably not go to that place. So as you can see, that's an economic decision. You're looking at what is better for you, not only now, but you're thinking about what is better for you on the future. See, and that's why I love economics, because economics can explain the behavior of individuals. Think about people that study psychology. People that study psychology, they study the behavior of individuals. Now, people that study sociology, they study the behavior of individuals as a group, right? But economics study not why you want certain things. Economics doesn't explain why you want things. Economics explains why you do the actual things. It actually explains the action. So on this class, we're going to try to understand why companies make decisions. Think about the issue of illegal immigration. Think about the issue of illegal immigration in the United States. This is a controversial topic, right? We have a lot of illegal aliens in the United States, about 12 million of them. About 12 million illegal aliens in the United States. Now, out of these 12 million illegal aliens in the United States, why are they here? Well, they are here, they choose that because they want to be able to be employed, to have some type of income to provide for their families. Companies know that these workers are here without documents. They're undocumented workers. Why do companies hire illegal aliens or undocumented workers?
They can usually pay them less or don't have to pay
Exactly,
taxes on it.
So as you can see, the idea of hiring an undocumented worker is that by hiring this guy, I don't have to pay him the minimum salary. I don't have to give him any benefits, and I can save a lot of money. So illegal aliens are in the United States because American companies are demanding this type of workers. If American companies stop hiring people, right, then there will be no illegal aliens. Does that make sense? Because they'll move to other countries, other places in which they'll be able to find employment. So as you can see, these are the things that we're going to learn. We're going to try to understand how the market shapes economic outcomes. We're going to try to understand the role of the government. What is the role that the government plays in the economy? And then we're going to try to understand about ourselves. My goal is that by the end of this month, you'll be able to use economics to apply it to your own personal decisions. Okay, so economics is fascinating. Economics is fascinating. So this is the goal of this class. So as you can see, we live in a world that has limited resources. We have limited resources. And as a result of this, then we're gonna have to make choices. The same thing with nations. Now think about a nation. Nations have limited resources. Some nations have a lot of resources. Nations like the United States, right? They have almost everything you can imagine. But then we also have small nations like the Bahamas or Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, or a small nation like Norway I mean, what do those nations have? Well, they have limited resources. But then we have nations like the United States, Canada, you know, in some, I guess, China, and they have, you know, almost everything you can imagine. Well, based on those resources, then the nations have to make choices. And the choices are, what are we going to make? How are we going to make things, and for whom we're going to make things? Okay, so again, these are the three choices that all nations have to make. All nations have to make those choices. What are we going to make it? How are we going to make it? And for whom we're going to make it? Okay, so for example, in the United States, what is the thing that we make? Almost everything you can imagine. No, almost everything you can imagine. We make, you know, anywhere from tractors to airplanes to food, you know, to legal substance and illegal substance and things like that. Those are the things that we make. How do we make things in the United States? Well, some things that we make in the United States is by using a lot of workers. They're very labor intensive. And there are some things that we make it using a lot of machinery. And then the question is, for whom do we make things in the United States? For whom do we make things in the United States? Okay, hold on for a second. Let me come back to another point. I know that some of you have taken micro already, right? I know that Laura, you already took micro, and two of you already took micro, I believe. There are two chapters, chapters 1 and chapter 3, which they are exactly the same chapters we already discovered, we cover in micro. Okay, so there are two chapters that you already know. So you're supposed to know all this information. So to you, this is a review. So if for some reason you're beginning to say, oh my God, I already know all this thing, and Hassel is repeating himself. No, I'm not an old man repeating myself. I am an old man, but I'm not repeating myself, right? This is a chapter that is covered on both classes, and I have to do it because some of you don't have to take both classes. You only have to take macro, or some of you have to take only micro, okay? So the question is, for whom do we make things in the United States?
For consumers and companies.
What was that?
For consumers and companies, which also act as consumers.
Okay, for what type of consumers do we make things? Do we care if you're tall or small or skinny or overweight, or you are black or yellow or pink? I don't know. Do we care? For whom do we make products in the United States?
We produce for whoever has demand for what we produce.
I want a Ferrari. I have a demand. I want a Ferrari. Just because I want something, am I going to end up with a Ferrari? And the answer is no. Even if I sell my kids, I will not be able to afford a Ferrari, right? So then in the United States, we make products not for those people that want the products. We make products for those people that can afford those products, right? And in some cases, that in itself creates some problems, because the market doesn't care if you want the products, and the market doesn't care if you need those products. Think about homeless people. They need shelter. Think about families that they're struggling as a result of this virus that is taking place, that they have lost their jobs and they're literally struggling to buy in groceries. They need food. And there are grocery stores full of food. Do you think the grocery store is going to give food to those people that are hungry? And the answer is no. The market doesn't care. So we're going to try to understand that. How does the market answer the questions of what to make, how to make it, and for whom to make it? Okay. So this is the three things that we're going to try to understand the whole month, right? The three main economic core issues. Okay. So then what is the economy? Well, the economy is us. In the United States, it's 320 million people that we make economic decisions every single day. You know, we go out to the grocery store, we go out buy gasoline, we go out and sell something, we go out and buy something, we go out and trade something, we go out. So that's what economic is the interactions of individuals to try to maximize their utility, their pleasure, their satisfaction. And we make choices, right? We make choices. Think about this guy eating breakfast online. You make your own sandwich, sir? did you make your own sandwich, or you went to the store and purchased the sandwich? Or whatever you're
Definitely
eating?
myself. Mhm.
Cliff, what are you eating this morning?
I'm making like a kind of gyro. It's like Swiss cheese, and I kind of fried some salami. I
Okay.
have some like minced.
So Cliff decided to go ahead and make his breakfast this morning in the house and eat it during class. Now, why not wait until after the class to eat? By the way, it doesn't bother me. I'm just making a conversation. Now, why he decided not to wait until lunchtime to eat? Because he's hungry today. At this point, why did he decide to make his own sandwich instead of go out at lunchtime and go buy something from a local restaurant? Well, because at this point, simply say it's not worth it. Wait, I'm not going to pay the $5, $6 for my lunch. I'm just going to go ahead and eat home. So as you can see, that's an economic decision. So that's what economics is. It's the behavior of the collections of all the players in the economy. Okay. So again, all nations deal with the issue of scarcity, and scarcity means that there's something that we lack. There's not enough resources to satisfy all the needs, which simply means that as a result of the issue of scarcity, somebody's wants are going to go unfulfilled. Think about this. I'm being serious when I say my dream is to own a Ferrari 450. Now, what is the probabilities that I'm going to end up with a Ferrari 450? At this point, the probabilities are 0. Why are the probabilities 0 at this point? Because I'm lacking something. And what is the thing that I'm lacking? I don't have the money to be able to pay for it. So I'm lacking that resource. So then, because of this, then this one, in my case, is going to go unfulfilled unless by a miracle of God, I win the lottery and then I'll be able to afford a Ferrari. Believe me, that's going to have to be a miracle of God, real miracle. Number one, I'm going to have the lottery ticket, and then somebody had to give me the lottery ticket. So it's going to have to be 2 miracles for that to happen. Right? Because I don't buy lottery tickets, so I'm never going to win the lottery tickets. Right? So the only way I will be able to win the lottery ticket is if by a miracle of God touch somebody and say, hey, Hazel, let me give you a lottery ticket. And that lottery ticket is actually a winning lottery ticket. So it's a double what? A double miracle for that to happen again. So what's the probability of that? 0. Right? Again, I'm just trying to explain to you, that the reality is that we are never going to have everything we want. So then because we have a scarcity, then we have to make choices. And we make choices every single day. For example, before this coronavirus, I had the choice of going out and watch a good movie and then go out and eat with my family. Well, going out and see a movie with my family was going to be $40, right? And then let's say another 30 to eat. So going out on a Friday night to see a movie and dinner, that's a $70 night, right? My other choice was for me to go out and get some burgers in a drive-through, a steak and shake, pay $12 and then stop at Redbox and get a movie and watch it at the house. So the choice is between $70 and watching a movie, or come to the house, get some burgers and watch a movie for $15. So then you make a choice, right? In my case is, let's go get the burgers and watch the movie at the house. So that's how we make economic decisions. So again, nations have to make choices, right? Of what to make, how to make it, and for whom we're going to make it. Those are the choices that all nations have to make, right? And nations have resources to make these products. The resources that we have is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship ability. So nations, use these resources to be able to transform them into a specific type of products. Okay, let me move and let me share another screen for a second. I'm gonna be using my other computer. Let me see if I can do it here. Forget about it. Okay, So, okay, so the factors of production that we have to produce things is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship ability. In other words, nations have land, and by land we talk about natural resources. We have timber, we have copper, we have aluminum, we have everything that you can extract from the land, right? That's a land. For example, think about this. A nation like Norway, that the economy to a certain extent is based on two industries. One of them is the oil industry, and the second one is the fishery industry. So when this fisherman goes into the ocean in the coast of Norway to get fish, what type of resource is that? So as you can see, then the fish, right, is part of a resource that the nation has. That is part of what? Land. It's called a natural resource that they have. So that's what we're talking about, land. So land is all natural resources. Labor is workers. Some nations have a lot of workers, and some nations have a limited of workers. In other words, the nation is not very large. And then we have capital, and by capital, it's not money, but capital is any machinery that can help you increase your productivity. So capital is anything that helps you to increase productivity. For example, if a company buys a lot of computers for their employees, then the company has just made a capital investment. That's what capital is, anything that helps to increase productivity. So we put all these resources together, and boom, we are able to produce a specific type of products, right? Because we have limited resources, again, we have limited resources, then we're gonna have to make choices. If we use steel to make automobiles, then we are not going to have that steel to be able to create a skyscraper or a building. If we use lumber to make tables, then that lumber can no longer be used to make a house. So we make choices. So then in the United States, what we're going to make is answered by the market. In other words, the government don't tell you what to do, it's the market tells you what to do. So if I have a lot of lumber, then I, as an individual, decide to who am I going to sell this lumber? Am I going to sell this lumber to a desk maker, a guy that wants to make desks with my lumber? Or am I going to sell my lumber to a guy that wants to make houses, a construction company? And the question is, to who are you going to sell your lumber? And the answer is to whoever is willing to give you what? The highest price. And who's going to give you the highest price? Whoever believes they can use that lumber and be able to make some money. Does that make sense? So as you can see, then the market allocates resources always to the best use. Because if there's a lot of lumber, it will be stupid for me to sell my lumber to the guy that is making furniture at a cheaper price when I can use this lumber and sell it to the construction company that's going to make buildings that is willing to pay me a higher price. The guy that is making the buildings is paying me a higher price because they're going to make a higher profits. That's why he's willing to do that. So as you can see, then the market allocates the resources. So then on economics, we're going to try to understand how, these resources are allocated just simply by the market itself. Okay. So again, we have to make choices. So then in every decision that you make in life, there's a cost involved. And that's called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the cost that you incur by choosing a specific action. Are you with me? Okay, let me come back so I can see your faces. So then the choices that we make, again, the choices that we make in life, they all have a cost. Think of, for example, at you. Let me use SAC, for example. The cost of being in class today is 3 hours of your lifetime, right? I believe Ashley was telling me that you work at an ice cream store, or was it Casey? Who was it? It was, oh, it was Melody. I know that one of you girls was working at a ice cream store. So by being in class for 3 hours, you have just lost the opportunity of earning $21 in salary. I'm assuming that you're getting paid minimum wage, Melody. Am I wrong?
Unfortunately, you're correct.
Yeah, because why do you believe she's only getting paid minimum wage? I mean, she's a bright young girl. Why she's only getting paid $7 an hour or minimum wages?
It's because it's a job that really anyone can do. So
Because it doesn't require a lot of skills. There's a lot of people willing to do that job, right? So as a result of this, the company say, hey, if you don't want it, you don't have to have it. So, I mean, that's the reason. Another reason is because that industry or that business or that store is not very profitable. Think about the amount of ice cream you have to sell just to pay $21 in salary. That's for 3 hours of work. You know, but again, that's another story. What I'm trying to explain to you is this, that by being in class today, you have lost the opportunity of being out there earning some type of income. Even if it's a minimum wage, you're earning that, you're losing that. So how many hours do you take during the regular semester or in this class? A semester is 45 hours of class time. 45 hours of class time. So if individuals is earning $10 an hour on the average students, right, they have just lost $450 in potential salary. Right? So then the question is, why do you still choose to take the class? Why do you still choose to take the class if it's costing you $450?
because we see the class as worth more than that for the potential it has in the future.
Because you believe that at the end, this choice that you're making is going to give you a higher benefit, right? I'm going to be able to have a college degree in, if this coronavirus, disappears, then I'll be ready, right? I'll be ready. At this point, to be honest, it doesn't really matter if you have a college education in the market. Well, probably I'm wrong, because if you really think about it, most of the people, this is the people who are going to be talking about unemployment. Keep this in mind. Who are the people that have been affected by this coronavirus that have been unemployed? Most of the people that serve on the what? What type of industry? Most of the people, the 40 million people that have lost their jobs, who are those people?
Usually the service industry workers.
Yes, sir. Restaurants, hair salons. I mean, the people that that they have the human contact. The beautician, the people that give massages, the what other industries that they have a lot of human interaction. The people that work at the movie theater, the people that work at the hotels, the people that work, now who are the people that have been able to keep their jobs? Well, professional individuals that are able to work from home. And people like me, people like your parents. I mean, my wife, I don't know, you hear a voice, my wife is literally here in the other room. She is a logistics manager, and she's, dealing with 5,000 people. She's talking all day long from my literally the other wall. And the reason is because she has that skills, right? So as you can see, then with no skills, with no education, chances are you're going to be unemployed. But if you can do your job via virtual reality, then chances are your job you'll be safe. So that's the reason why we are in college, because we believe that at this point, it is worth it. So in every decision that we make, there's a cost involved, right? And that's what we call opportunity cost. So what is opportunity cost? It's the cost that we incur for making a decision, okay? So let me come back to my lesson, and we're trying to understand the issue of opportunity cost, okay? So it's the cost that you incur by making a specific decision, okay? So now, the way we can explain this is by using a model that we use in economics called the production possibility frontier. Okay, the production possibility frontier is simply a model that illustrates the issue of choices. Okay, the issue of choices, okay? Hold on for a second. Let me see if I can come back here. Okay. Well, but let me continue with this. I'm trying to go into my iPad. Okay, so look at this. Think about, okay, I was trying to tell you that there's a model in economics called the production possibility frontier. And the production possibility frontier is simply a model that illustrates, the choices that we have to make. Hold on for a second. Let me see if I can, I'm gonna have to share my screen. Okay, let me see if now this will work. There it goes. Okay. In economics, we use a model that illustrates the cost, the issue opportunity cost, and this model is called the production possibility frontier, or we just call it the PPC, the production possibility curve. And it's a model that looks something like this. Yeah. So it simply goes something like this. Let's say, for example, we can make trucks or we can make cars, right? It's possible that I can produce at this level. Let's say I can produce 10 trucks and 2 cars, or it's possible that I can produce this output, which will be 5 trucks and 4 cars, or it's possible that I can produce this right here. And again, I'm just making numbers, 3 and 5. So these are 3 possible outputs that I can do. I can do A, I can do B, and I can do C. Okay. So look at this. With all the resources that you have, all the steel and the workers, this is what you can do. This can be your production possibility curve of a company, or it can be a nation. It doesn't really matter. Look at this company. This company can produce 10 trucks or 2 cars. But if they want to produce more cars, right, they're gonna have to shift some of the workers in the production of cars. So as you can see, then we are able to produce more cars only by letting go of some trucks. So we want to move from point A to point B. What is my cost? What did I gain when I moved from point A to point B?
You gain 2 cars.
Okay, I gained 2 cars. I went from 2 to 4, but what did I lose?
5 trucks.
5 trucks. So then opportunity cost measures the loss divided by the gain. How much do you lose and how much do you gain? So when I move from point A to point B, I lose 5 cars, but I lose 5 trucks, but I gain 2 cars. So my cost was 5 divided by 2, which is equals to 2.5, which simply means my cost was 2.5. For every car that I gain, I lose 2.5 trucks. Now look at what happened when I moved from point B to point C. What did I gain when I moved from point B to point C? I gained 1 car, but I lost 2 trucks. So then my opportunity cost when I move from point B to point C is actually 2 divided by 1 is equals to 2. So in other words, my cost is 2, which means that for every car that I gain, I lose 2 trucks. Okay, so that's what opportunity cost is, right? Let me erase this. So the production possibility frontier is a model that illustrates the choices that we have to make and what is the cost involved in every decision that we make. Let me see, how do you, Oh, right there. Okay. What happened here? I'm trying to find my pencil. Hold on for a second, guys. My iPad is not allowing me to write on it. Let me go right here. Okay, let me try it one more time. Okay. What are you seeing at this point? Are you seeing just the faces, or you seeing
Just faces.
just faces? Okay, hold on for a second. Let me go right here. Share screen. Okay. Do you see a whiteboard, or you see?
Yeah, we see the whiteboard.
How about now? What do you see any lines? No?
No.
Okay, hold on for a second. Let me try one more time. Okay. So then the production possibility frontier simply illustrate choices that we have to make, you know. For example, if at point A, this is my production. Okay, if I am at, let's say this is tanks and this is cars. Okay, so if I'm making 6 cars and 4 tanks, and then for some reason my country goes into war and I have to make a decision that I need more tanks, and achieve my production from C to A. So as I move from C to A, what is my cost that I'm going to incur? I'm asking a question. What is the cost that I'm going to incur if I move from point C to point A? If I move from point C to point A, what am I going to lose?
You lose the production of 4 cars.
Exactly. Remember, opportunity cost is equals to loss divided by gain. So then my loss is going to be 4 cars, but I'm going to gain 6 tanks. What is 4 divided by 6? Somebody help me.
It's 2/3 or 0.667. Repeated.
0.667. Okay. So then what does that means? What is that 0.667 means? It means that for every 1 unit of what I choose, this is what it's gonna cost me. So opportunity cost measures the cost that you're going to incur for every 1 unit that you're going to gain. So in this case, for every tank that I'm going to gain, I'm going to lose a little bit more than half of a car. So opportunity cost moves, or is in every direction. For example, what is my cost if I am at point A and then I go to point C? So if I am at point A and I go to point C, I'm losing what? 6 tanks, and I'm going to gain 4 cars. Right, so my cost will be in this case, what, 4.5? So as you can see, then that means that for every car that I gain, I'm going to lose 1.5 tanks. So the production possibility frontier is simply a model that we use in economics to specifically explain, the issue of how we make choices and what is the cost involved. Another principle that the model illustrates is the principle that in some cases, there are things that we cannot do. In other words, they are outside our control, because the production possibility frontier illustrates the maximum we can produce if we use all the resources. So in other words, we can produce at point A, we can produce at point B, and again, let's say tanks and cars, 10 and 4, we can produce right here, let's say 6 and 8, and again, I'm just making up numbers, right? We can produce that. Can we produce point X right here? And the answer is yes, of course we can produce point X, because X is inside what we are capable, right? Can we produce at Y? And the answer is no, because Y is a point that is outside the frontier. Remember, the frontier illustrates what we can produce if we use all the resources to the maximum. So then point Y is unattainable. The only way we can produce at point Y is if we are learn and we can move the whole production possibility frontier. For example, we learn new technology, new way of doing things, if we discover new resources. Okay, so again, we're trying to understand simple concepts of how the economy works. Okay, so again, for example, coming back here, this is the possibility of a company. They can produce a point A, a point B, C, and D. Look at point B. It's actually 4 trucks and 2 tanks. If we move from point B to point C, what will I gain? From point B to point D, I gain 2 tanks, but what will I lose? I will lose 2 trucks. So then how much is my cost from B to D? 1. The opportunity cost is 1. For every unit that I gain, I lose 1. How about from D to F? From D to F, I will lose 2, and what will I gain? 1. So then my cost will be what? 2, which simply means that for every 1 unit that I gain, I'm going to lose 2. So just remember this. The production possibility curve is a model that illustrates the maximum we can produce if we use all the resources to the fullest. It also illustrates, that there are some points that they are unattainable, and there are some points inside the frontier that they are just simply means that we are producing less than what we are capable. Okay, less than what we are capable. Now think about, for example, at point Y right here. Can we produce Y? Yes, because it's inside the frontier. But if we are producing at point Y, that means that we are being inefficient. Now, point X is unattainable. It's outside the frontier. The only way we can do point X is if the whole frontier expands. And that is what economic growth is. Now think about, for example, what is happening today in our nation as a result of this crisis that we are facing. 40 million people out of work. Now think about the type of products that 40 million people can actually do. If we put these 40 million people to make bridges or make houses or make cars, how many cars can they produce? How many houses can they build? How many schools can they construct? How many miles of highway can they build? So by having these people unemployed, our frontier has moved inwards. We are producing less than what we are capable. Less than what we're capable because we're not using the resources to the fullest. Remember? In other words, we are producing inside of what we are capable. And as a matter of fact, today in our nation, you have seen films of how during the Great Depressions of the 1930s, people used to be on lines on the soup lines asking for food because they didn't have no food. And if you really think about it, things have not changed a lot from the 1930s to today, almost 100 years later. Now, people now, they're also now in food lines. Have any of you saw some of the documentaries of what is happening in Hawaii? 75% of all Hawaiians work for the service industries. They work for hotels, for restaurants. They live out of tourism. Nobody's flying to Hawaii today. So 75% of all the workers in Hawaii, or 50% of them have actually lost their jobs. They have no income. They have no income. And in some of the charitable organization churches that they are giving food to people, you see miles and miles and miles of cars waiting on the lines to be able to get some food. In the 1930s, people have no cars. They were waiting online for the soup. Now people that are waiting in the cars, to be able to get the food. Okay, so as you can see, that's what happened when the economy does not use the resources to the maximum. The economy can shrink. And at this point, the unemployment rate is the highest unemployment rate that we have ever had in our nation after World War II. And if this continues, we're probably going to be having the same unemployment that we have during the Great Depression. That's why our president and everybody, all governors, are actually trying to reopen the economy, because we know that we cannot continue like this. So again, we are trying to answer the questions. What are we going to make? How are we going to make it? And for whom we're going to make it? So how do we make those decisions? Well, in the United States, we allow the market to make those decisions. The market, right? In some countries, the government tells them people what to do. These are the communist nations. Very few of them left. North Korea, that's the only one that I can think about it. Venezuela, I guess. Right? And then we have a mixture of both, in which we allow the market to answer the questions and then the government. That's a mixture of both. Most socialist nations, the government is heavily involved in the decisions of what we're going to make. Okay? In the United States, we are mostly predominant by the market, but we still have the government involved, right, in the economy, and the government, to a certain extent, actually tell companies the things that we need to make. Okay? So the market is just what's called the invisible hand. The invisible hand. It's in principle, is the principle that we say, let the market answer the questions, and the market is going to answer the right way those questions. It's going to give the right answer. Think about, for example, about the shoemaker, the guy that makes shoes. Why do the shoemaker make shoes? Do the shoemaker make shoes because he wants to protect your toes? Because he wants you to have fashionable shoes? And the answer is absolutely not. The shoemaker makes shoes because why? Because he wants to make money. So then that desire of making money motivates him to make more shoes. Right? So because he's making all those shoes, now we're going to be able to protect our toes, right? And at the same time, the individual is actually now making money, and that's what we call the invisible hand. The restaurants that make food every day, do they make food because they want to feed you? No, they make food because they want to make money, right? And again, that's the market mechanism. That's the invisible hand. So in the United States, we believe in laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is the superior. We believe in the superiority of the market. We cannot do better than the market. Leave it alone. We believe in non-intervention. The government cannot tell companies what to do because the market is always better. Okay? So again, the market answers the questions of what are we going to make, how are we going to make it, and whom we're going to make it, just simply by the forces of supply and demand. What do we produce? Those things that people are buying, those things that people want, they desire, and they can afford it. Right? How do we produce it? Well, trying to use the most efficient methods, and for whom we're going to produce it? For those people that have the money. Okay? So now think about how the market tells companies what to make. think about the car industry. The car industry introduces a new model, right? And boom, these cars become very desirable. And it's being sold like pancakes. Everybody's buying this new model. So then when people begin to buy this car, the company gets a signal. And the signal is, I need to produce more. And they begin to produce more. On the other hand, think about when the company introduces a new model of a car and nobody's buying this car. I don't know, let me use the example. Think about Jeep. Jeep introduced the pickup truck. You know, a little Jeep Wrangler, they cut half of the car and now make it into a pickup truck. I mean, did any of you know anybody driving one of those ugly cars? I mean, by the way, I'm giving my own personal opinion. I think they are ugly. They are not Jeeps, they are not trucks. Right? So if nobody's buying that car, which I assume they are not, right, then the company gets a signal, and the signal is, let's stop making those cars because nobody's buying them. Or let's make fewer units because nobody's buying them. And again, that's how the market answers those questions. Now, it's possible that in some cases we need the government to tell us what to do. Okay, it can direct companies what to do. Think about, for example, a couple of weeks ago when the coronavirus began to hit the nation and we thought we were going to need a lot of ventilators. See, the government dictate to certain companies, say, this is what I want you to do, right? And again, so the question is, do we need the government in the economy? And of course, the answer is, of course, we need it. But we only need the government in case of emergencies, when it's absolutely necessary, because the market will always do better. Okay, the market will always do better. So again, most economies at this point, we have a mixture of the market. And this is what we know, guys. If we look at the index of economic freedom, those nations that give freedom to their people tend to develop faster than those nations that we try to control. When we give people freedom of production, freedom of ownership, freedom of communication, freedom of association, freedom of choices, freedom of ownership. You know, think about this. For example, in some nations, people cannot own land. You know, in some nations, people are not free to move from one place to the other. Now, think about you. After graduation and everything's going to be back to normal, if a company in Seattle, Washington, look at your resume and they give you an interview, you will have no problem going to Seattle, Washington, looking for a job, right? So the market tells you your skills will be compensated higher in the state of Washington, so you move there. But in some countries, that freedom does not exist. So then people have a lot of skill that can do something very good are not able to find jobs because they are not free to move. So then again, freedom creates or gives economic growth. The question is the market always perfect? And the answer is no, the market sometimes creates failures. Think about, for example, Americans, and probably that applies to you. Grace, how many guns do we have at your house? Do your parents have any guns?
Yes. Yeah, quite a number. I couldn't count them, but
More than 2?
yes.
3? 4?
Yeah.
More?
More than that.
Okay. Zach, how many guns do we have in your house?
We don't have any.
Okay, Cliff,
You have like 2 or 3, I think.
like 2 or 3. Ruth, Molina, 1. Casey,
I think we have at least one.
Melody, you have guns? Not in your house? Ashley?
I'd say at least 10. I don't live with my parents anymore, but like I also have my own guns at their house. I just don't have any here in Cleveland.
Okay, so I mean, you only have 1, but in your house, your parents have 10 guns. Okay, so and that's the typical American family. Now, why do we need 10 guns or 5 guns?
Because they're fun, I think. I don't really get it, but my parents also use it for hunting.
Okay, yeah, people have R-15s, you know, the assault rifles, the automatic weapons. Those are weapons of war, right? You don't go hunting with a R-15, right? So the question is, why do we have so many guns in the United States? Now, this is going to blow your mind. The United States is only 5% of the world population. Only 5% of the world population. But we have 95% of all the handguns on the world. Okay? We're not talking about rifles, we're talking about the actual guns, handguns. 95% of all the guns on the world are in the hands of Americans. Why do we need so many guns? Because companies are making those guns. Why do we make so many guns? Well, because people like Cliff that live in Georgia. Are you from Georgia, Cliff? Where are you from?
I'm in Dayton, so I'm like north of Cleveland by 30 minutes.
Yeah, people that live in the South, you know, I mean, we believe that we need to have guns for protection. So the market is providing that. The market is providing assault weapons. The market provides crack. The market provides cocaine. The market provides marijuana. Why do we have all these illegal drugs? Why do Colombians and Mexicans risk going to jail by bringing cocaine into the United States? Do you think that these guys, we call them mules that bring in the drugs across the borders, they do it for the fun? No, they do it because they want to make some money. Right? Why are they going to make some money? Because there's somebody here in the United States that want to snore some coke. So we have coke because we have people that want to snort coke. So should we allow that to happen? Because the market is demanding that? So as you can see, in some cases, we have what is called a market failure. A market failure simply means the market is providing things that probably they are not the best things. So then when the market is failing, then what we need is the government to intervene. But in some cases, when the government intervenes, instead of creating things better, it actually creates things worse. So now you have a choice between market failure or government failure. Okay? So again, market failure is when the market is not providing the optimal goods. Right? So then if we don't have what we want, as a result of the failure, then in some cases, the government needs to intervene. Let me come back to the market failure. Think about the number of people in New York City, families. I'm not talking about drug addicts. I'm talking about families that they don't have a place to live. And as a result of this, they have moved with families. They have moved with their in-laws or their cousins, right? Because now they lost their jobs and they cannot afford to have their own house. So as you can see, to a certain extent, the market has failed because these people cannot afford to pay for the shelter. The market simply say, well, that's life. Now think about this. Where do people get their income? What is the number one source of income for people? Going to go to work. You work, you get paid, you buy the things that you want. Well, how about if you have some type of mental disabilities or physical disabilities? You have no arms or you have no legs and you're not able to perform a task. You're not able to work. Or you have some mental, I don't know what's the right word to say, or mentally you're not capable of functioning in society. What does the market tell you? What does the market say about people that they are not able to work because they are mentally disabled? You know what the market say? The market say, die, baby, die. I'm not going to provide for you. So then in situations like this, that's when we need the government. The government needs to intervene, and just because you have some type of disability, that does not mean that you're supposed to die. So the government creates some types of programs. But in some cases, the programs that the government creates failures. For example, in some cases, the government creates incentives for people not to work. think about, for example, a young couple. A young couple, they go out and ask for welfare. And they're going to receive $1,200. No, I'm talking about a couple with 2 children. They're going to receive $200 in monthly benefits. Now, another young girl out there has 2 kids and she's a single woman and she's receiving $1,800 a month on benefits. So then the couple realized that by being married, they're actually getting less aid. So then the couple simply separates or they divorce. So as you can see, then the market creates a failure because it gives an incentive for marriages to break apart. Okay, so as you can see, in many cases, government intervention, instead of making things better, it actually makes things worse. And that's what we mean by government failure. Okay? So then economics is about all of this. How do we make decisions? Now, you have to understand also that economics can be divided into two fields: normative economics and positive economics. Now, normative economics is focused on this is how things are. Positive economics makes a judgment. Let me give you an example. If I tell you, in the United States, and again, I'm just gonna make up numbers. If I tell you in the United States, 10 million teenage or high school kids, smoke a cigarette at least once a day. Right? So if I give you that information, again, I'm just making up numbers. 10 million high school kids smoke a cigarette at least once a day. If I give you that statement, that's a normative statement. I'm sorry, that's a positive statement. Positive. I just give you the facts. But if I tell you in the United States, 10 million teenagers smoke a cigarette and we need to change that, then that becomes a normative statement. So normative tries to find a solution. Positive only gives you the facts. So in this class, we're only going to be dealing with positive analysis. We are going to try to avoid normative analysis because normative analysis is a judgment. And the way I think, right, and the way I think and the way Zach thinks or Cliff thinks is totally different. Right, so we just say, okay, this is the way it is, you make your own judgment. Right, so we're going to only deal with positive economics, okay? So then all we have learned at this point is what economics is. That economics can be divided in 2 fields, macroeconomics and macroeconomics. Macro is this class. We're gonna be learning about the large economic phenomena, about the aggregate, and microeconomics is the study of the small choices, what people do, the choices that they make, companies make. Okay, so let me go right here. And this is who we are. So macroeconomics is the study of the aggregate, the economic behavior, the whole economy. And microeconomics is the study of the small choices that people make, right? So the reality is that the economy is vast and complex, and we're just simply going to try to simplify it to that it will make some sense for us. Okay, and guys, this is the end of chapter 1. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put the power slides on your Moodle account for the chapter, so you go back and review the notes. We have about 45 minutes of class, and this is the time that I'm going to give you for you to get together with your team and begin to think about the things that you're going to be doing for that presentation. Again, every day I'm going to give you certain time for you to start working on your team or organize the presentation. Your first presentation is going to be Friday, not this coming Friday, but a week from Friday, and that's going to be equal to 10% of your grade. Remember that. Remember, because 2 of them are going to be equal to 1 test grade. There are 5 grades, 20% apiece. So the 2 presentations are going to be equal to 1. So that will be 10% of your grade. So in other words, take it serious. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions? Okay, let me have a word of prayer because sorry, I don't think we pray at the beginning, so we can close the class. Heavenly Father, today we just simply want to say thank you for everything you have done for us. At this point, this is the first day of class. We just want to say thank you because you allow us to be in this institution in which we don't have to apologize for what we believe. And for that, we can simply say thank you. At the same time, today I want to put the lives of every single of my students in your class, specifically the situation they're going through. I ask you to be with them. I want to ask you for their families, for the loved ones. I want to ask you for protection for them. I want to ask you this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen and amen. Guys, it was a wonderful class. I think it's going to be good. So again, share your information between yourselves. You want that I leave the Zoom open for you to talk, or you have your information between yourselves?
Could you leave it open for at least a few minutes? 'Cause
I'll leave it open. I'll actually going to mute myself, and I'm going to work on my other computer, so that way you don't have to worry about me. Okay, got it?
Thank you.
Blessings, guys.
Okay, do you guys want to send, at least for
Thanks,
our group,
Cassie.
Ashley, if you'll send in like your phone number so that we can make a group meet and then we can send Zoom codes, do that or whatever for our group.
Laura, if I don't know how you want to give me your number. I have Cassie's already.
Yeah,